So for as long as I can remember, I've been obsessed with this idea of 90s technology, and I've not known where it comes from, but it's been something sitting in the back of my mind. There was this point, I think 4 years ago, where I had this big, like, awakening. My view on how the world works changed, and so much new information came in, and I kind of abandoned this idea of life has to look this way. Like, I'm a cis, straight guy, Christian, following this path, going to college. Everything changed. I reconsidered so much about what was allowed and how my life worked. And I started to create this vision of what this, like, utopian future looks like. Like, if we lived in a perfect world, a world where there was anarchy and there was structures within that anarchy for everything to just, like, if there was mutual aid, people contributed to projects that made them feel whole, not because they were getting money, but because they were supporting this thing that was bigger than themselves. If that's just how the world works, instead of capitalism, and we were more connected with the land, I had this beautiful vision that I think is really common among, like, hippies, because I'm meeting a lot of them, and part of this vision involves technology in such a way that I don't know. I think a lot of people that create this kind of vision of a perfect world, they take technology out of it. They have experiences with the way technology makes them feel. Like, you can't go onto a Windows computer without being bombarded by ads. Social media is the same. All of it's listening to you, selling your information, trying to sell you stuff. More so and more so the more technology seems to progress or advance. I feel like a perfect, beautiful world doesn't take that entirely out of the picture. I've always felt like it's a beautiful, perfect utopia is a world where we still have technology, but we engage with it in a way where it's actually connective, and instead of taking us out of our bodies, it puts us in them more. And it doesn't sell our information and try to sell us things. It like really, it's honest and it's not overwhelming, and that's why I've always been so enthusiastic about learning how to use Linux and replacing my Windows with Linux. And up until recently, I just felt really depressed about the way that the internet was going. But then I discovered this incredible thing called NeoCities. And now I'm learning it's not just NeoCities, it's bigger than that. But it feels like part of that vision that was kind of missing. So this idea of, like, say 15 years ago, probably 20 years ago actually, the internet was made up of a lot of small independent sites. They didn't try to sell you things like they do now. There was just often individuals just talking about their life, about their experiences, about their passions. You could get information directly from the source. It was so decentralized. Google contributed to sharing all of these sites and made them accessible. But there was more than that. There were web rings and people linking to sites that pertain to similar contexts and themes, and so yeah, there was GeoCities was the big thing. GeoCities was the easiest platform. It was like, oh, you can have a site on GeoCities, you can write whatever you want, we'll host it for free, and people used it for self-expression, and it was this beautiful thing, and there's all these, like, GIFs and all these, like, old web kind of ways of art and that are kind of now being regurgitated um, among people that really are into that kind of stuff. But the thing I want to talk about is like how valuable that was. I feel like if we didn't try to advance beyond that, if we stayed there and culture advanced around that technology, we'd be living in such a different world. I feel like we would all be so much more connected to each other. I think technology changed so fast that as a culture we didn't have time to really process what was happening. And now a lot of people have all these issues around technology about how addictive it's become and how disconnected from reality they are when they are plugged into it. Um, yeah, it's so hard to share ideas and come from an authentic place. It's more like fighting for attention with people who spend a lot of money. That's what it feels like to me as an artist. It's somebody who like really tries to be seen and wants to be seen by the world. Um, so yeah, it seems like that culture, that entire like way of living on the internet, the way of using the internet, I should say, it seems like it died out. I was really sad by this thought, and I was hoping that one day it would come back. I even made a blog in the hopes that, well, 4 years ago I made a blog in the hopes that there would be some like societal collapse and we would return to this old way of using the internet and I could share my ideas freely again. And I recently discovered NeoCities within the past like month. And holy fuck, I am so excited. This is a real part of the internet. This is a real thing again. So what NeoCities is it's trying to do what GeoCities did. So you can have a website on there for free. You pay if you want to have your own domain name. But yeah, it just like it's really supportive and it like tries to teach you how to use HTML and stuff and get like a really basic website started. But yeah, it's like a stepping stone. You just start writing code and you can just have this beautiful vessel of self-expression and sharing yourself and your art and your story and your thoughts. And it's all these sites on there are connected to other people's sites and there's so much useful ideas. And I made a website and I'm using it as like a diary for my journey and for my art, and it's nowhere near done, but I want to talk about it. So this is my website. Like I said, I've made a blog before, but I didn't know that you could just host it on the internet for free practically. That discovery has been huge to me. So I made this and I talk about myself. The main page, I'm just talking about how my journey with music has been. So like where you can find my music, what it sounds like. That's my biggest thing, obviously. How I learned music, projects I'm working on now, imposter syndrome, things I want to pursue, things that are like really seem front and center to me. This website is currently under construction. I think it will perpetually be in a state of being in construction. I'm definitely very early in my journey with this. But yeah, like half of the pages aren't populated yet. For example, if you go to my press kit, which is the part of my website that I'll show to maybe people who host like festivals when I want to play at festivals, or just different people that maybe if somebody writes a news article about me in the local paper about my album that's coming up or something, I'll probably send them this way. Once I write the page, there's nothing there right now. But Yeah, I really contribute to a lot of the indie web and the things that come with that. So what that is like the indie web is a lot of internet culture things that have carried on from 20 years ago. Some things maybe have like evolved a little bit in their nature, but so like buttons are a big part of that. They're like these things right here, and um, on GeoCities, there used to be a thing it would teach you like in a tutorial, like, oh, this is how you display an image, and the image was this 88 by 31 pixel thing that says, welcome to my GeoCities site, or something like that. I wasn't there. I'm only speaking from secondhand knowledge, but a lot of people would take that image and edit it and change the pixels, and you'd see that size image all over the place with like really fun, quirky things. And so mine are just like, oh, this is an anti AI site. I like Linux. This website's hosted by NeoCities. Um, just kind of virtue signaling almost. But and then a lot of people make their own. So like this says Cassie candles, and people will put them on their sites to link to each other. And so I've got two kind of vaguely internet friends or people I know through the internet, and this links to their sites. So like this cool guy I found on YouTube, another person I found on YouTube. But yeah, that's another thing. Another thing is web rings. So web rings are like how these sites get visited, because there's not some kind of like discover page like there is on Instagram or wherever, where it'll just be like, oh, by the way, you should look at these things. Like, these websites have to be linked by people that have more kind of grounded connections, and it makes it a lot more decentralized. You don't have a few people that are getting a lot of attention, but you have a lot of people that are getting divided, like a little attention, but maybe more meaningful. So like this is a bunch of trans people that are linked together through this trans web ring. This is a bunch of people that are into Linux. This is people that are against AI art. And that'll take you to their site, which I think is pretty cool. I put my upcoming shows on here. I don't have any right now, but I probably will in the next couple months schedule some. I've got this whole page about my spiritual journey, and also kind of my journey with psychosis. I've got some miscellaneous projects. It's really kind of empty, but I put things on here that I'm like, I don't know where else to put them. Really the only article I have on here so far is oh shit, there's a typo. Oh my god. I guess that adds to it, but just like paint art that I make. I also have so it also links to my Bandcamp, which I think I want to somehow integrate my music more directly into my website, instead of my website leading people here, because I want my music to be really accessible, and I know a lot of people aren't familiar with Bandcamp. I really want to be like a way to introduce people into this world, but also I want people to get to know me, and so I'm battling with like, oh, how accessible do I make myself? Do I just show people all my Spotify music, when Spotify is not something I really want to contribute to in the world I want to live in? And do I make my website like really phone accessible and leave out all these features that would be kind of overwhelming on a small screen? and but and so I'm trying to figure that out. My music thing might become like, oh, here's like how to find my music, and it'll link to these different places and talk about how I feel about them, but in a very straightforward kind of way. I also have this idea of putting like an audio player on every page that has like some of my music to sample that kind of like goes with the feeling of the page. I learned JavaScript while I followed a tutorial. I need to follow some other tutorials too because my audio player seems to be broken at the moment. That's okay. But I think I'm going to share that when I have working code for it. But yeah, that's pretty much the gist of my website. I did use a layout builder that sped up the process of making it by a lot, and I think I'm going to link that in the description of my video. It's like a free thing that you can customize and edit, and it kind of helps you learn what's going on and how to manage some of it. I really encourage anyone to make a website. It's really easy and it's really accessible and it really contributes to a better world, I think. If you're my friend and you're watching this, or if you want to be my friend, and you make a website, show it to me. I'll check it out and maybe I'll link to it from my website. But yeah, thanks for watching.